Hi everybody, it's another episode of the Silver Linings Librarian. Here's your librarian, Miss Coviello, reading 4th grade book, Sid Fleischman, The Whipping Boy. Read along with me. Chapter 12. You might recall where we left our heroes. Jemmy and Prince Brat have been kidnapped by Cutwater and Hold Your Nose Billy, and they're in the lair of the kidnappers, and Jemmy and Prince Brat have kind of switched places, but not really, because Prince Brat doesn't play along. He doesn't have a sense of humor. He's not very clever. Jemmy's the one with all the brains and ideas. Jemmy wrote the note. Jemmy wants to switch him up, but it's not working. The plan right now is that they're going to have the ransom note with the horse. Hold Your Nose Billy is going to go as close to the castle as he can, and then he's going to scoot the horse in there because the horses apparently will go home by themselves. Chapter 12, wherein Jemmy is betrayed. With a gleeful chuckle, Hold Your Nose Billy dropped the ransom note and the golden crown into a dirty linen sack. When he knotted the sack to the saddle, he turned to Cutwater. Soon as I'm within a squint of the castle, I'll turn the beast loose. Guard our prisoners. I'll tie him up, Cutwater wheezed, giving his heavy partner a foot up into the royal saddle. From the doorway, Jemmy watched Hold Your Nose Billy vanish into the tangled maze of tree limbs and brambles. Then he glanced about at the bare furnishings, the hanging ropes of garlic bulbs, the bed straw, the chest of stolen goods. He'd need some trickery to escape. The prince fixed him with a smirk. You're clever, all right, but a common dunce all the same. Gaw. A cartload of gold and jewels, the ruffians would have been content with a mere jingle of coins. Jemmy's eyes swung back to the bed straw. There was his escape. A cartload of moonshine, he said. It'll never be forked over. I'm the prince. Papa will have to pay for it. Jemmy began burrowing like a barn mouse under the moldy straw. Not a bit he won't. Papa will foam at the mouth. Jemmy was disappearing limb by limb under the straw. Think again. It'll be clear as water the note's a scrambly-witted fake. Papa will keep me under lock and key after this. It won't fool a soul, that note. How could you have written it? Everyone in the castles know you can't so much as sign your name. I never needed to before. It's me that's in the soup. I'll catch it for your mischief in running away, and I'll catch it again when the tutor claps eyes on the handwriting. He'll say, Jemmy, this is Jemmy trying to line his own pockets. Your pa'll scrag me with his bare hands, so I'll be obliged if you help me nip out of here. I promise you my protection, announced the prince with sudden generosity. Jemmy protects himself, said the whipping boy. When that plaguey Cutwater comes to tie us up, tell him I slipped out the door. Soon as he bounces off after me, I'll make a break for it. You'll leave me alone with cutthroats? Before Jemmy could answer, he heard the sharp squeak of the door. He held his breath. Lads, you won't mind if I truss you up like a Christmas goose. Then came a sudden pause, and Jemmy's heart began to thump. Where's the prince? Cutwater snapped. Jemmy heard Prince Brat answer without the slightest hesitation. Him. Over there. In the straw. Chapter 13. The Chase. A thoroughbred of the streets, Jemmy acted on instinct. He didn't wait to be nabbed. In a burst of straw, he shot up and made a leap for the door. Cutwater, startled, lost the merest breath of time, but it was enough. Jemmy flung open the door and ran. His long arms outstretched, Cutwater lurched after him, and Prince Brat followed. Jemmy vanished into the wild green tangle. He jumped a great fallen log, dunked under low-hanging branches, and like a rabbit made sudden changes in direction. He could hear Cutwater close behind, breathing like a bellows. I'm on your tracks! Stop before I get aggra-vexed with you, Prince! Jemmy covered the ground at full tilt. Leaves crackled under his feet. Gaw, he thought. He might as well be leading a confounded parade for all the noise he was making. He reached a small clearing and half jumped out of his skin. Sniffing near the skeleton white roots of an upturned hollow tree stood a wild beast, a bear. Jemmy would have preferred Cutwater's own company, but before he could find his legs, the hairy beast took flight. It went crashing away to Jemmy's left. Jemmy got his breath back. Then, almost without thinking, he dove into the hollow of the dead tree and snugged himself in. Can you see it? I don't know. Moments later, he caught the merest glimpse of Cutwater cupping an ear. Turning on his heels, the rattle-boned man gave a shout. "Practically got you by the hind leg, you pesky prince!" Jemmy let out a small sigh of relief. Cutwater would have a mighty surprise if he caught that bear by the hind leg. As the sounds of the chase grew fainter, Jemmy crawled out of the hollow root. The sun was now high enough to send down smoky rays of light through the tree tops. Which way was the river? And then he saw Prince Brat, his face lobster red from running, at the edge of the clearing. "Unfaithful servant," he protested, glaring hard at Jemmy. Until this moment, Jemmy hadn't had a moment's pause for anger, but now fury shot into his eyes. "Curse this blabber-tongued, hateful prince! You betrayed me! You have deserted me without a care!" Jemmy bristled. "Ain't it me they think is the prince? If you hadn't pointed me out under the straw, Cutwater would have flown off to pick up my tracks, and we could have crept away dead easy. I wouldn't be running my lungs out." The prince pondered this for a moment. He nodded. "Then I forgive you." Jemmy was speechless for a moment. "Forgive me? Don't trouble yourself, my good and loyal prince, and get yourself another whipping boy." "But I have not dismissed you from my service," the prince said calmly. "I dismiss myself," Jemmy fired back. "I'll get where I'm going, and you can find your own way back to the castle." "I'll go with you." "Not likely." Jemmy turned to the right and beat his way back into the foliage. I think we should go on. Chapter 14, in which is heard a voice in the forest. Jemmy could hear Prince Brat following in his tracks. Step by step, he grimly pressed on. Brambles, reaching out like cat's claws, tore at their fine garments. The forest trees rose all around them like prison bars. Finally, Jemmy spun around. "Lay off! Go your own way." "This way suits me," said the prince. "Well, don't follow me. I've no more idea than a gnat where I'm heading." "Silence," whispered the prince with a turn of his head. "Hear that?" They froze, the two of them. A voice came wailing through the woods. "Tunya! Petunia!" And then a young woman appeared, barefoot and jangling with bracelets. She moved through the trees as quickly as a wood spirit. "Petunia!" She carried a coil rope in one hand and had held outstretched in the other an amber chunk of comb honey. "Come here, darling. Come to Betsy." Suddenly, as if sensing a presence in the tree, she headed toward Jemmy and the prince. "Petunia! You there, naughty rascal! Smell the honey! Come feast yourself, pet!" Jemmy didn't know what to make of this woman, a girl really, for as she grew closer, he reckoned she couldn't be more than 14 or 15 years old. He stepped out into full view, with the prince clinging to him like a shadow. "Miss?" She stopped short. "My eyes! Who are you?" "Lost," said Jemmy. "Would you know which way to the river?" "Course I do." "Ain't we heading for the fair, me and Petunia? Have you seen him?" "Petunia?" "Got Lucy did. My dancing bear. World famous." "Oh, he scared me out of my skin," Jemmy replied, and pointed. "Back there." She turned on her heels and started off. "Hey," Jemmy shouted. "Where's the river?" "Where it's always been, due south. Which way is south? Betsy paused to set her arm like a signpost. Straight on. You certain? Certain, I'm certain. Didn't Pa always say I had a head like a compass? Rest him in peace. And she was gone. Their clothes were ripped to tatters by late morning when Jemmy and the prince caught sight of the sparkling river. And almost at once they dove back into cover. Mounted on high-stepping horses, a pair of soldiers were advancing along the river road. They must be out searching for you, Jemmy whispered. If they catch me with you, I'm done for. Prince Brat didn't seem to be listening. His eyes were fixed on the passing soldiers. Look here, Jemmy muttered impatiently. I can't have you sticking to me like a barnacle. Ain't you had a snoutful of running away? Go back with the soldiers. The prince shook his head. No, let them pass. And then he added with the faintest smiles. This is the first time no one has had fits because I got my clothes grimy. The ladies keep me clean and starched as a pillowcase. But you're a prince. Is my face as dirty as yours? You don't belong knocking about outside the walls. Prince Brat gazed off into the distance. Did you have lots of friends when you lived on the streets? Heaps. Heaps, of course. And hardly one of them wouldn't fight me over a bone. Go back. Your pa must be having double fits of worry. The prince answered with a flash of resentment. I might as well be stuffed and hung on the wall like a stag's head, for all he notices me. You remind him often enough with all your pranks. How long are you going to let him sweat and stew? I don't know, declared the prince. Maybe I'll never go back. This is the best time I ever had. Gaw, Jemmy murmured. End of chapter 14. To be continued. Hope you're reading along. Note for everyone who's missing The Lightning Thief. I know it's a different kind of book, and I know how great mythology is, and you know I've got some mythology for you guys. But right now, looking forward, the next video for 4th grade will be a special message about The Lightning Thief. So stay tuned. Let's see if my remote control.